Imagine this scenario. The power grid has been down for 2 weeks. The streets are no longer safe, and the thin veneer of civilization has cracked. Chaos is ruling every neighborhood. Then, you hear a knock at the door. It is not a neighbor asking for a cup of sugar. It is a confiscation team authorized by emergency executive orders and backed by martial law protocols. They are not guessing which house to visit. They have a list. And because of your digital footprint, your credit card history, and your online activity, you are on that list. They know you bought a generator 3 years ago. They know about the bulk rice purchases from the restaurant supply store. They know about the precious metals you have been accumulating. In that moment, do you hand over the lifeline that ensures your family's survival? Or do you employ a strategy so effective, so psychologically manipulative, that they walk away empty-handed, convinced you are just as desperate, starving, and helpless as everyone else? This is not fear-mongering. This is historical precedent. We are talking about Executive Order 6102 in 1933, when the U.S. government forced citizens to turn in their gold. If it happened then, it can happen now. But today, the threat is more sophisticated. They don't need to knock on every door blindly. They have thermal drones, credit card data algorithms, and satellite imagery. They know exactly who has the supplies. If you want to keep what is yours, you need to understand the concept of strategic invisibility. You need to know what they are coming for first, and, more importantly, how to make those things disappear before they arrive. We are moving beyond basic, prepping into the realm of advanced operational security. This is the Ghost Protocol. Here are the 5 most critical assets they will seize, and the specific, military-grade countermeasures you need to deploy immediately to protect them. Part 1. Energy independence, silencing the beacon. The moment the lights go out, energy becomes the most valuable currency on Earth. The government knows this. They will prioritize securing fuel reserves, gasoline, diesel, and propane to keep military and emergency vehicles running. But the threat isn't just from official confiscation. It comes from the desperate mob. If you are running a standard generator in a grid-down scenario, you might as well send up a flare gun signaling your location to every looter and patrol within a 3-mile radius. Generators create 2 massive liabilities that will get you caught: acoustic signatures and thermal signatures. The acoustic threat and the baffle box solution. A loud generator creates a sound profile that cuts through the silence of a blackout zone. It draws attention not just from authorities looking to reallocate resources for the greater good, but from neighbors who are cold and in the dark. To counter this, you cannot simply put the generator in the garage. The carbon monoxide will kill you, and the noise will still leak. You need to build a baffle box. This is a tactic derived from sound engineering principles. You construct a box using heavy plywood, but the secret lies in the lining and the airflow. Line the interior with mass-loaded vinyl, MLV, and high-density acoustic foam. These materials absorb sound waves and prevent them from vibrating through the wood. Crucially, you must design an intake and exhaust maze. Sound travels in straight lines, but air can flow around corners. By building a serpentine path for the air to enter and exit the box, you trap the sound waves inside while allowing the engine to breathe. This construction can drop your generator's noise output by 20 to 30 decibels. It turns a mechanical roar into a gentle, barely audible hum that disappears into the background noise of the environment. The thermal threat and the cooling trench. Even if your generator is whisper quiet, it still glows like a supernova on thermal imaging. Drones patrolling a blackout zone or military helicopters equipped with FLIR, forward-looking infrared, will spot a heat bloom from your engine exhaust instantly. You cannot simply vent hot exhaust into the air. The countermeasure is the cooling trench. This involves digging a trench and running your exhaust pipe underground into a buried, 55-gallon steel drum filled with rocks. The exhaust gas enters the drum, disperses through the rocks, and cools down significantly before venting out through a secondary pipe. The rocks absorb the heat signature, and the earth acts as a massive insulator, muffling the remaining low-frequency thumping sound. You stay powered, but to the outside observer, whether they are on the ground or in the sky, you are invisible. Fuel storage concealment. Finally, do not leave red gas cans visible in your garage. If a confiscation team sweeps your block, visible fuel is the first thing gone. Camouflage is key. Store fuel in nondescript containers if safe and legal standards allow, or hide tanks behind false walls. Propane tanks are magnetic targets for eyes scanning a property. painting them to blend with vegetation or hiding them inside decoy structures, like a fake compost bin or a hollowed-out pile of firewood, breaks up the visual outline that overhead surveillance looks for. You must become energy independent without broadcasting your status. Part 2. Communications. The Faraday Fortress information is power. In any major crisis, the first thing an authoritarian regime does is control the narrative. They will hit the kill switch on the internet and cellular networks. When that happens, your ham radios, GMRS radios, and scanners become your only lifeline to the outside world. However, using them carries a significant risk. Radio frequency, RF, triangulation. If you are transmitting on a ham radio without strict discipline, you are painting a target on your back. Military and law enforcement have sophisticated direction-finding equipment, often called fox hunting gear. They can pinpoint a transmission source within seconds. The threat here is the confiscation of unauthorized transmission devices under the guise of preventing interference with emergency bands or stopping misinformation. The Faraday defense. To protect your electronics from both confiscation and the threat of an EMP electromagnetic pulse, you need a Faraday cage. But you don't need to spend thousands on laboratory-grade equipment. You can build a fortress for your data using a simple galvanized steel trash can. Go to the hardware store and buy a metal trash can with a tight-fitting lid. The metal acts as a conductive shield. However, the critical mistake most people make is letting their electronics touch the metal. If the device touches the can, the shield is compromised. You must create an insulation layer. Line the inside of the can bottom and sides with cardboard or heavy rubber. Once lined, wrap your backup radios, spare phones, and tablets containing offline maps in aluminum foil, followed by a layer of bubble wrap for physical protection. Place them inside the insulated can. For the final seal, use conductive aluminum tape to seal the lid to the can. This creates a continuous conductive surface. EMPs cannot get in, and if you leave a device on by mistake, signals cannot get out. Your digital footprint vanishes until you decide to transmit. The protocol of silence possessing the gear is only half the battle. How you use it determines your survival. The golden rule of comms in a crisis is listen 99% of the time. Transmit only when life depends on it. Be a data sponge, soaking up information from emergency bands without giving away your position. When you must transmit, use burst transmissions. These are short, pre-coded messages sent in seconds. Never broadcast from your base of operations. Move away from your home, transmit your message, and then leave that location immediately. Do not put up a 50-foot antenna tower in your backyard. That screams, I have info and supplies. Use attic antennas or wire antennas disguised as clotheslines or woven into trees. Be the gray man of the airwaves. Part 3. Food stockpiles. The psychology of the decoy history repeats itself. During almost every major famine or war, governments enact anti-hoarding laws. They will criminalize the possession of excess food to redistribute it to the masses. But the government isn't the only threat. Your neighbors, hungry and desperate, will be the ones to report you. If authorities knock on your door asking if you have extra food, and you simply say no, but you look well fed while everyone else is starving, they won't believe you. Their suspicion will lead to a search. If they raid a prepper's house and find absolutely nothing in the cupboards, they will become suspicious that you are hiding something and will tear the walls down to find it. The decoy pantry strategy. You need a sacrificial offering. You must employ psychology to manipulate the search team. Set up a decoy pantry in your kitchen. Stock it with a modest amount of food, maybe 3 days to a week's worth of generic items like half-empty boxes of pasta, some canned beans, and open bags of rice. When the confiscation teams or looters arrive, this is what they find. You must act distressed. Argue a little bit, cry if you have to. Let them take it. You are buying their satisfaction with a few dollars worth of food. By giving them a win, you validate their effort and lower their suspicion, making them leave thinking they have cleaned you out. Deep concealment. The real stash. Your actual survival supply, your 6-month or 1-year stockpile, must never be in the kitchen or the main garage. It requires deep concealment. Look for structural hiding spots. Utilizing dead space under floorboards is a classic but effective method. False bottoms in kitchen cabinets are another ingenious tactic. The bottom 4 inches of most cabinetry is wasted space. Remove the toe kick board, slide in flat mylar bags of rice or beans, and replace the board. It is invisible storage. For larger quantities, use visual camouflage. Store bulk dry goods in 5-gallon buckets with mylar bags and oxygen absorbers. But never label them rice or wheat. That is an invitation to theft. Go to the hardware store and buy messy paint colors or drywall compound. Spray paint the buckets to look used, dribble some drywall mud down the sides, and label them primer, spackle, or cat litter. Stack them in the garage or basement, mixed with real tools and paint supplies. To the casual observer or a looting mob, it looks like boring household maintenance supplies or construction trash. No one steals a bucket of old drywall compound during a famine. Finally, practice dispersal. Never keep all your eggs in one basket. If they find one cache, they shouldn't find them all. Bury waterproof caches using PVC pipes in your backyard or at a remote bug-out location. This is your insurance policy against total loss. Part 4. Medical caches, the Trojan horse in a crisis. The pharmacy is the first place to be looted, and the second place to be secured by the National Guard. But the real threat starts long before the collapse. Your medical history is in a centralized digital database. If you require insulin, antibiotics, or heart medication, they mail. When supply chains break, government resource reallocation protocols kick in. They may determine that your personal stockpile of antibiotics is better suited for a field hospital than your home kit. The bathroom cabinet trap. Most people store their critical meds in the bathroom medicine cabinet. This is a fatal error. That is the very first place looters and authorities look for drugs. You must decentralize your supply immediately. Keep a public first aid kit in the bathroom with basic bandages, some Tylenol, and nothing of high value. Hiding in plain sight, for your life-saving antibiotics and prescription meds, use the Trojan horse method. Never leave them in the orange prescription bottles. Those distinct bottles are magnets for eyes scanning a room. Save your old bottles of multivitamins, herbal supplements, or even laundry scent boosters. Clean them out thoroughly. Fill a bottle labeled fish oil or herbal joint support with your amoxicillin. Fill a generic vitamin C bottle with your pain management medication. Put them back on the shelf in the kitchen or in the laundry room. A looter looking for narcotics or high-value drugs will ignore the laundry room. A confiscation officer looking for hoarded supplies will ignore a bottle of fish oil. You keep your life-saving supplies right under their noses by exploiting their cognitive filters. They are looking for specific visual cues, orange bottles. Deny them those cues and you become invisible. Part 5. Precious metals, midnight gardening, gold and silver are the only real money when fiat currency collapses. But they are heavy, they show up on metal detectors, and they have been confiscated before. If you have a big, heavy gun safe in your basement, you are advertising your wealth. A safe says one thing to an intruder: the good stuff is inside. In a raid, a safe does not protect your assets. It becomes a liability. They will put a gun to your head and make you open it, or they will simply rip it out of the wall with a winch and open it at their leisure. The strategy: hide in plain sight and the junk silver loophole. Don't just stack shiny bullion that screams wealth. Diversify into junk silver, pre-1965. US coins that contain 90% silver. To the uneducated eye of a young soldier or a desperate looter, a jar of old quarters looks like loose change, not a retirement fund. A jar of change on a dresser is often ignored, while a tube of shiny silver eagles is taken instantly. For larger bars, use the doorstop method. Take a brick of silver or lead, paint it black or rust-colored to look like a piece of industrial scrap metal, and use it as a doorstop in your garage or workshop. No one steals a heavy, rusty doorstop. Midnight gardening. The vertical burial. The safest bank vault is the earth itself. But you must be smart about burial. Do not bury gold in a metal box. Metal detectors will find it easily due to the large surface area. Use the vertical pipe technique. Get a PVC pipe about 3 to 4 feet long and 4 to 6 inches in diameter. Cap one end, fill it with your precious metals, sealed in waterproof bags, and cap the other end. Drill a hole straight down into the ground using a post hole digger. Drop the pipe in vertically. This vertical orientation minimizes the surface area detectable from the surface. A metal detector sweeping the ground might miss the small cross-section of the pipe or mistake it for a piece of junk iron or a pipe fitting deep underground. To add a layer of deception, bury a rusty piece of scrap metal, like an old horseshoe nails or a bolt, about 6 inches above your cache. If a detector beeps, they dig, find the junk, think that was the source of the signal, and stop digging. You keep the gold buried safely beneath. Create a treasure map, memorize it, and destroy the physical copy. The art of being the gray man, the first 5 things list, isn't just about stuff. It's about survival. The government, the desperate mob, and the unprepared masses will come for what you have. Your survival depends on your ability to be a gray man, unremarkable, uninteresting, and seemingly empty-handed. Don't be the hero with the loud generator and the open garage door. Don't be the guy bragging about his gold reserves. Be the ghost. Secure your fuel with silence and thermal masking. Protect your communications with Faraday shields. Decoy your pantry to satisfy the greedy. Scatter your medical supplies in plain sight. And plant your wealth in the ground where only you can find it. When the knock comes at the door, let them find nothing but a struggling citizen, just like everyone else. That is how you survive the seizure. That is how you keep your freedom. Prepare now, because tomorrow might be too late.